All right, welcome to today's explainer. I am so absolutely thrilled you're here with us because today we are going to decode one of the most profound, deeply philosophical, and honestly remarkably accessible texts in all of human history. We are focusing entirely on Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, in Sanskrit, this is famously known as Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga, which translates to the yoga of royal knowledge and royal mystery. If you've ever really wanted to understand the absolute core of this ancient wisdom, well, this is the chapter that pulls back the cosmic curtain.
To anchor ourselves, let's picture the scene. We're looking at a supreme dialogue taking place on a chariot, right smack in the middle of a battlefield. We've got the warrior Arjuna, who is going through a profound crisis of purpose, and Lord Krishna, who is serving as his charioteer and guide. Now, up to this point in the text, Arjuna has received various types of advice, but nothing has entirely resolved that existential crisis he's facing. And that is exactly where Chapter 9 steps in. Krishna is about to shift gears completely and deliver the ultimate teaching.
And that brings us to a massive, really intriguing question, straight from the second verse of this chapter. Krishna tells Arjuna that he's about to impart the king of education and the most secret of all secrets. I mean, just think about the weight of that statement for a second. Out of all the complex philosophies, all the disciplines, all the intricate Vedic rituals out there, what could possibly qualify as the ultimate royal secret?
Well, to find out, we're going to use this thrilling map to understand this royal mystery, taking us from the grand cosmic scale all the way down to the deeply personal. We'll cover 1. The ultimate royal secret, 2. The cosmic pervasion, 3. The essence of everything, 4. Delusion versus true devotion, 5. The path of pure love, and finally, 6. Universal redemption for all.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The ultimate royal secret. So right off the bat, Krishna introduces this knowledge to Arjuna by explaining exactly why it holds that royal title. This isn't just some dry, abstract theory. It's the purest knowledge because it actually gives you direct perception of the self through realization. It's literally the perfection of religion. And what's beautifully unique here is that the source describes it as susukam kartum avyayam, which means it's everlasting and, get this, it is joyfully performed. We're not talking about painful, grueling asceticism here. It's a liberating knowledge that relieves you from material miseries, that endless loop of birth and death.
Moving right along to Section 2, the cosmic pervasion.
Now, to truly grasp this royal knowledge, the text completely shifts our perspective up to an epic, unmanifested scale. This brings us to verse 9.6, and honestly, this contains one of the most poetic and striking metaphors in the entire Bhagavad Gita. The text reads, "Understand that as the mighty wind, blowing everywhere, rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in May." Just let that imagery resonate with you for a moment. The wind is incredibly powerful, it's chaotic, it's moving absolutely everywhere, and yet, it is entirely contained within the vast, silent, undisturbed space of the sky. So let's unpack that metaphor a bit by defining this principle of cosmic pervasion. The sources explain that the entire cosmic order is under divine will. There's this grand cycle of creation and annihilation called kalpas. These are vast, almost incomprehensible millenniums of time. At the beginning of a kalpa, beings are sent forth, and at the end they're dissolved right back into material nature. Yet while directing all of this moving and non-moving material nature, Krishna states he remains entirely detached. He's seated as though neutral. The divine pervades absolutely everything, sure, but isn't bound or contained by the actions of the material universe.
Let's look at Section 3, the essence of everything.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that pervasion works in reality, because now the text systematically breaks down the infinite. It maps out Krishna's manifestations from verses 9.16 to 9.19, so it shifts from the cosmic, identifying the divine as the Father, the Mother, the support, and the grand sire of the universe, right down to the physical elements, controlling the heat of the sun, withholding and sending forth the rain. And finally, it encompasses the absolute, the sacred syllable Om, and remarkably, both immortality and death personified. The source is crystal clear on this. Both spirit and matter emanate from one single inexhaustible source. Which brings us to Section 4, delusion versus true devotion.
So with this immense cosmic reality established, the narrative sharply shifts to how human beings actually react to all this. The Bhagavad Gita frequently uses the power of contrast, dividing things into two very distinct mindsets. On one side, the text points to the deluded fools. Because the divine descends in a human form, these folks deride him.
They are totally bewildered by temporary material nature. And the text notes that their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, their culture of knowledge, it's all ultimately defeated. But then contrast this with the great souls, the Mahatmas. These individuals are not deluded at all. They are under the direct protection of the divine nature, engaging in exclusive devotional service with immense determination, precisely because they recognize that original, inexhaustible Supreme Personality.
Now, the sources outline a major difference in the outcomes of these paths. Some followers strictly study the three Vedas and drink soma juice to purify themselves of sin. But what's their goal? It's to reach the heavenly planets, like the planet of Indra, and enjoy these godly delights. But the text points out a massive limitation here. Once their pious merits run out, they return right back to this mortal planet. It is purely a temporary reward. Compare that to the exclusive devotees. For those who worship with single-minded devotion, meditating on the transcendental form, Krishna promises something profound. He says, "I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have." We're talking about eternal security versus a fleeting, temporary pleasure.
Let's move to Section 5, the path of pure love.
So, if this exclusive devotion is the ultimate goal, how do you actually achieve it? You might think accessing the literal creator of the cosmos requires these impossible, elaborate rituals. But here, we really need to slow down, because the text moves us from that grand cosmic scale down to something incredibly intimate. Notice the breathtaking simplicity of this path. Verse 926 clearly states that if one offers with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or even just water, the divine will accept it. Think about the stark contrast between that and the expensive, highly complex Vedic sacrifices we just talked about. The royal secret isn't about material wealth. It's not about rigid rituals. It is entirely about the consciousness, the intention, and the genuine love behind the humblest of offerings. It makes the absolute ultimate truth accessible to anyone, anywhere.
And that leads us to Section 6, Universal Redemption for All.
This beautiful accessibility brings us toward the emotional peak of the chapter, and honestly, perhaps the most comforting promise in the entire text. It's the promise of universal inclusion and shelter. This is highlighted perfectly in verse 9.29. The text declares, "I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him." This completely tears down every single societal barrier. It emphatically states that this royal knowledge requires no special worldly status, no specific birthright, no elite scholarly background. The divine acts as a neutral facilitator to all beings, but becomes an intimate friend to anyone who simply turns toward him with devotion. And this is exactly why the chapter builds to that definitive final command: simply fix your mind on him, always think of him, and become his devotee.
We've journeyed all the way from the unmanifested, vast expanse of the universe right down to the offering of a single leaf with love. Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita reveals that the ultimate mystery of the cosmos isn't locked away behind impossible barriers. It's waiting right there in the simplicity of pure devotion. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. How can you take this ancient principle of single-minded focus, intentionality, and devotion and actually apply it to your own modern life? When you strip away all the temporary rewards you might be chasing, what is the core intention really driving your actions? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this sparks a strong desire in you to explore these incredible texts even further.